guys, welcome back to Boss Talk Tuesdays with me, Angela Williams, your favorite transformation coach. So, as you're coming in, don't forget to put your name and where you're viewing me from in the comment section. Also, spread some love and share the video. And if you're watching me on replay, simply put hashtag replay in the comments. And once you've shared the video, just put hashtag shared or done. Either one will work. It's all good. All right, I hope you guys were able to catch the first episode where I got to share a little bit about the story behind my brand and how my brand was formed, because I give a little bit of insight as to what was on my mental hard drive, because today we're going to be looking at what's on your mental hard drive, and I'm super excited about it. Okay, I kind of want to show you guys the power of traumatic experiences and how they're deeply connected to our limiting beliefs. So I want to first start by defining what trauma is. So I'm going to put on my glasses and I'm going to look at my notes, okay? So trauma is a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. It's also an emotional shock following a stressful event or a physical injury, which may be associated with physical shock and sometimes leads to long-term neurosis, such as PTSD. It's also a physical injury. But the portion that I want to take a look at or focus on is going to be a deeply distressing or disturbing experience. So what do I really mean by the makeup, your mental hard drive? What does that mean? So it basically means how you move about your life, like how you make decisions. So, like your financial decisions, like your decisions on choosing the correct mate, your parenting decisions, your career decisions. That's what I mean by your mental makeup, because it affects your decision making. So we want to take a look at what's been placed on your hard drive so that you can better understand how to recognize it, and then I'm going to give you some ways to overcome it. So, for example, if you had a mom that was a little withdrawn and she wasn't really involved in your life, even though she was present, she wasn't present, if that makes sense. Or you may have had a father who was not in the home, or if he was in the home, he really didn't put a lot of stock into anything that you had going on. Well, all of those instances is what shapes and mold your emotional development. So if they weren't there to put, to nurture you and to guide you and to help you hone those gifts on the inside of you, then you're going to see some emotional distress, if you will, and it's going to show up in your life through how you parent. Are you the parent that scolds your children, and because you're bogged down with life's decisions and all of the situations and the stresses of life, that you don't really put a lot of stock into your children? Or maybe you're the parent who puts a lot of stock into your children, but you overparent, if that makes sense. Like, what is overparenting? Overparenting means like you're constantly in their business. You're constantly trying to lead and guide them, even though they're old enough to make their own decisions and they're old enough to adult, if you will. But you're still trying to maneuver their life and have control and not loosening the reins. You know what I mean? Like that's a part of it. And you definitely don't want to do that, because that's causing so many limitations in your child's life. But that's a whole nother story. So we're going to stay focused and we're going to stay on task. That's why I have my notes, because I don't want to deviate from that. Okay. All right. So it also shows up with the types of jobs you choose or the types of mates that you choose. Like you may marry the wrong person or marry someone who doesn't value relationships the way that you do. I know I'm guilty of that. Choosing the wrong mate who didn't really value relationship. And that's another story as well. So you find yourself on a repeated cycle, and you're creating these behaviors over and over again. So how do you overcome it? Because that's what we want to get to. We want to deal with how to overcome this. Well, first you got to recognize that there is an issue. You have to recognize that there is a repeated cycle. A lot of times in families, we know that there's an issue, and we talk about the issues often, but nobody is willing to break the cycle because nobody wants to own up to it. So if you take the time to recognize it, acknowledge it, then the healing can begin. But that's the first step. The second step is mental preparation. And what I mean by that is to make a decision to observe your mental thought processes. If a negative thought comes up, see if there's a way you can make the connection to something that happened as a child or something that may have happened last week. See if you can make those connections, because if you can make those connections, that makes it easier to deal with as well. Also, uprooting. When you see that you have negative thought processes, find ways to uproot those negative thought processes and then, of course, replace them with more positive outcomes or reflections or I don't want to say affirmations because that wouldn't be ideal in this situation. Affirmations, which of course we'll talk about somewhere down the line, only really works is if you deal with these other underlying issues. So we want to look at these issues first before we go to that level. But you definitely want to take a mental inventory of the negative thought processes and make the connections. So the other one that I have is forgiveness, because I think a lot of people miss the forgiveness piece because people don't really understand the power of forgiveness is for you, it's for your healing, not the person that you're forgiving. A lot of times people are like, oh, I don't want to forgive that person because they really hurt me. But forgiving them frees you up mentally so that your healing can actually transpire. Like you free up the mental space so that person is not holding you hostage to the thing that they used to hurt you, if that makes sense. So, for example, I'm just gonna throw a figurative person out there, like it's not a real person, but I'm gonna forgive Mary because Mary wrecked my car or whatever. I'm gonna forgive Mary. As hard as it is for me to forgive Mary, I'm gonna forgive Mary because I need to be free of the thing that Mary did to hurt me. I guess you guys get the point. Like, you want to use forgiveness for your healing, not for the benefit of the person that you're forgiving. So what I have here is that forgiveness is an act of healing because it frees your mental and emotional state of being free from bondage of the person who caused the hurt. It can also help you to lower your expectations of that person. When you lower your expectations of a person, then they don't have the power to hurt you because you've stripped them of that power. When our expectations are here of a person, like when they're high and that person does anything to not fulfill our expectations, then we're hurt. But if we lower our expectations, we don't have any expectations of them. So if they don't show up or don't follow through with something, then we're not really hurt by it because we didn't have a high expectation to begin with. So that's what I mean by lowering your expectations of a person. You know, if they show up with something and if they're giving you the thing that you need, then it's a blessing. And we're going to rejoice in that. But if they don't show up with it and if they don't give you what you need, then we're not hurt because we didn't have an expectation. All right. And the last thing that I have is to create new healthy habits, because anytime you strip yourself of the old habits, you got to put something new in place of it, because if you don't, you're going to revert back to the old ways of doing things. We want new results, so therefore we have to do new things, right? So you want to put something new in there to combat the thing that you eliminated. All right, so we've become accustomed to nurturing hurt and protecting it at all costs. Then we get confused as to why it continues to show up in our lives. So the best way to get over hurt is to expose it for what it is. And that's what we're doing here today. We're exposing it for what it is. And I hope you guys have enjoyed this short segment of Boss Talk Tuesday. And if you have any questions or comments, positive comments about today's episode, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. and I'll answer your questions and I'll connect with you. And if you share this video, one lucky winner, or maybe even three, I'm not sure, maybe even three winners will get a 30-minute strategy session with me. That's right. I'm going to give you a complimentary strategy session if you are the winner. All right, so just be sure to share the video and connect with me on next Tuesday as we dive into some more topics or some more insight on how to rid yourself of these limiting beliefs so that you can start flowing. It's 2020. You have got to start flowing in your purpose, okay? I've enjoyed you guys, and I'm looking forward to the next segment. All right, have a good night. Bye.